Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn some useful string functions. So in the previous lecture we have already learned something about the string formatting, that is how to format a particular string. Now in this lecture we will study some extremely important functions which we are going to need while we design some complex applications. So the very first function which we are going to learn is the join function, which allows you to join a string with a list. So let's go ahead and try to join a particular string with a list. So the very first thing which we do is that we simply print out the result, because in this we are going to write in the code within the print function so that we directly could get the output. So let's say that we want to append a comma at each and every item on the list. So what we do here is that we mention this comma in a form of a string. So as you all know that in Python, whenever you have something in between double quotes, that is nothing but it's essentially a string. So once you have the string, as you need to join this with the list items, you simply use the join function. So you give a dot operator and type in join, and to this join you now actually need to pass in a list. So as you all know, we define list in between these square brackets in Python. So let's add some items to this list. So let's say the first item is apple, let's say the second item is banana, and let's say that the third item is mango. So once we have this list with us, what this join function is going to do is that it is going to join the comma to each and every item present right here. So if you save the code and if you run it, as you could see, we have all the list items separated with a comma. And also if you want some different separator like a colon, you could also define that. And if you run this code, as you could see, now we could have a colon right over here. So that's how a join function can be used in a string, to basically join a string with each and every item inside your list. Now the second function which we are going to learn in this case is going to be a replace function. So what replace function does is that, let's say that you have a string which says something like hello there, and let's say you want to replace the there with some other word or other string. So replace function allows you to do that. So let's print out the result first, and inside here let's have a string which is called as hello there. So let me just type in hello there right over here. Now once you have this string with you, you could simply give a dot operator and use the replace function. And to this replace function you need to pass in the two parameters. So the first parameter is going to be which substring in this entire string you want to replace. So we want to replace there, so we type in there over here, give a comma, and right here in the next parameter we need to mention the string with which we want to replace there. So in this case we want to replace there by world, so I'm going to simply type world here. So if you save the code now and if you try to run it, as you could see, now instead of having hello there, now you have something which is called as hello world. So if you find this code a little bit confusing, let's do it by some simple way. So let's say we have some string which is called as new string, and let's type in some text into it like hello there. Now whenever you want to replace some substring in a string, you simply type in the string name, give a dot operator, use the replace function, and here in the first parameter you need to mention the particular substring which you want to change. So here we want to replace there, and now we mention by what string we want to replace this string right here. So we want to replace there by world, so simply pass in world here. So now once you have this, you could simply cut this and use a print function and simply paste this over here. So if you save the code and if you run it, as you could see, now you have something which is called as hello world instead of hello there. So that's how you basically use the replace function to replace a particular substring in your entire string. Now let's learn how to determine if a particular string is present at the start or end of a string. So let's create a new string right here. So let's type in new string again, and let's type in something like this is a string, and let's say that you want to check if this particular string starts with this right here. So in this case it actually starts with this, but to check it, what you do is that you type in print to print out the result, then you type new string, which is nothing but this string, give a dot operator and use a function which says starts with. Now in this starts with, you actually need to mention the string which you want to check if the particular string starts with. So in this case it is going to be this. So if you save the code and if you run it, as you could see, you get the result as true because this string right here actually starts with this. So if you replace this thing by something like there, so this string right here does not start with a there. So in this case, if you save the code and run it, as you could see, you will get a false result right over here. So similar to starts with, we also have something which is called as the ends with function. So if you type in ends with, what this is going to do is that it is going to check if a particular string ends with a particular word. So in this case, as this string ends with a string, let's type in string here and let's save the code and check the result right over here. So as you could see, it returns the result as false. And if you were to replace this thing by this, which is the start string, if you save the code and if you run it, as you could see, you get the result as false because this string does not end with this. Instead, it ends with a string. So this was all about the starts with and ends with function. So these two functions actually allow you to check if the string starts with a particular string or ends with a particular string. Now the next function which we are going to learn is to basically convert a particular string into uppercase letters. So we are going to reuse the same code. So essentially we have a string, then we print out the new string, and then to convert this new string, that is the entire string, into uppercase, we give a dot operator and use a function which is called as upper. So what this upper does is that it prints out the entire string into uppercase letters. So if you save the code and if you run it, as you could see, now the entire string is printed into uppercase letters. Now similar to uppercase, we also have the lowercase, which actually does the exact opposite. That is nothing but printing the entire string into lowercase letters. So right now we have this T in uppercase. So if we use the lowercase function, if we save the code and if we run it, as you could see, now everything gets printed out in lower cases right here. So that's how we could use the lower and upper functions to basically print out strings in lowercase or uppercase letters. So that's it for this lecture, and that was all about some of the useful string functions. And string functions are especially used while we deal with web development, which we are going to do in the duration of this course. So thank you very much for watching this lecture, and I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Thank you.